Hello and welcome to episode 14 of In the Net podcast. We've had a bit of a break to recharge the batteries after the Euros, and we've got a really messy situation to discuss. It's just me, Hugh, and Ib tonight. Our regular guest, Lambros, is unavailable. So we're going to be going through a few things with you today. Obviously, the Super Cup's still ongoing at the moment, but we've got the new season to talk about, and of course, the really big transfer news that's happened recently, and that is Lionel Messi, some people's GOAT, leaving Barcelona and joining PSG. What are your thoughts, guys?
What was that? I completely missed it. Something happened? Nah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding with you. Is Lam on some beach somewhere then? Instead of podcasting.
I don't
Well,
know. I think he's just retired.
well, wherever he is, I hope he's having a good time. So, I'll start off with. I'm pretty surprised this happened in some ways because the unthinkable of Lionel Messi leaving Barcelona has actually happened. But it really puts into a light of a season with no fans, the whole COVID pandemic, and the amount of wages, the ridiculous amount of wages, should I say, Barcelona were paying their players, and quite frankly, they're in a financially dire state. All I'm going to say is it seems like the logical choice for Messi, given that PSG are probably one of the only two teams that could have afforded him, and is really now up to Pochettino to now deliver what PSG fans want, which is a Champions League, because Ligue 1 is pretty much a guarantee most seasons.
Not
And,
last season.
well, apart from last season, but let's say Lille had a fantastic season and some things happened off the field or off the pitch, however you want to say it, that may have impacted PSG's season. I'm notably talking about Tuchel's dismissal and so forth. But yeah, I guess now that they've got Hakimi and then they've got 4 free signings in Donnarumma, Wijnaldum, Messi. Oh, I just
It's
can't.
an insane transfer.
Yeah, and Sergio Ramos. It's just, like, honestly, they must be the favourites for the Champions League. I can't see any other team beyond them. But I don't know. Ibby, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. The signings they've made, you got to put them up there. But then when they signed Neymar, and everyone was talking about Neymar, Di Maria, Mbappe, front three, and everyone was saying that they're their favorite. I know Messi's a whole different level, but even then, people still had them as favorites, right? I don't know. Is it a case of you've got a lot of individuals, some of them perhaps passed it a little bit? Um, and Ramos, would you still say he's the top three centre backs in the world?
No,
Argue,
not
yeah.
top tier anymore, is he? But he's a damn good signing for PSG.
No, 100% for sure. I don't know. As a football fan, I don't want Messi to move to PSG. You want to see him in a more competitive league. You want to see him in the Prem. Maybe even I know Syria is not what it used to be, especially with Inter Milan now selling like Lukaku and some of their top players. Um, Last season I know it was good, but I don't know how for. But I just thought as a football fan, I just wanted to see him in a very very competitive league because I just feel like if that was Ronaldo, there would have been criticism, and I think Messi's still at the top of his game. No one can. I know he's what is he 34?
Mm.
With his age, some people will say yeah, but he's coming closer to retirement, but he's still at the top of his game. Like last season, then his numbers were insane. So to move to PSG when he's performing at that level, I don't know. I would say, would other players get a bit of stick for that? Would other players say, well, you've still got it in you. Why are you going into a retirement league, so to speak, or whatever?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, but I was absolutely gutted. I mean, I was gutted, but I wasn't surprised because, of course, financially, FFP doesn't seem to apply to PSG. Is that because a member of UEFA is on their board? Who knows? But I'm gutted. Like you, I wanted to see him in the Premier League. I wouldn't have cared who he signed for. Like I would have just loved to see him have 2 seasons in the Premier League, and then you can really compare Ronaldo and Messi because I've always been Team Messi Firstly, because I think natural talent, I think he's unbelievable. Ronaldo, like just behind him for me, but this is for me, it's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth when you sort of look back at his career because after they won the Copa America, he said that it's sort of he feels more settled now. He's done something internationally. Now let's kick on and make the most of the last years that he's got. And going to PSG just isn't doing that. I mean, I know that finances are tighter in the Premier League, but then you've got Man City buying Grealish and possibly Kane. Personally, I would have liked to have seen a team like Chelsea going for him, or do you know what I mean? He wants to add more Champions League trophies to his like honours list, but I don't think PSG will do it. I think there's I don't think they've got good enough competition week in week out to be up for the big games in the Champions League. We see it every year, don't we? Quarterfinals, they can't take the heat, and it's not because they haven't got talented enough players. It's because they're not being tested all the time. So all of a sudden they've got to raise their game so much to play against the
The
likes of
intensity is just not there, is it?
exactly. Whereas in the Premier League, even the top four teams, if they go 80% in a game against, say, no disrespect to any of these clubs, say like a Burnley or an Aston Villa, they'll get turned over. Whereas in the French league, I just think it's a bit of a cakewalk for them 9 times out of 10, and then they're not ready for it. But one thing I did find funny: how often do you hear of a player taking a pay cut when they join PSG? Which just goes to show what an absolutely obscene amount of money Barcelona were paying him.
Well, let's be honest. If you're paying Felipe Coutinho 400k a week, Antoine Griezmann a similar amount, if not more, Miralem Pjanic 270k a week, it's no surprise that Barcelona have been put in this position, especially after what's happened in the last 18 months with the coronavirus. It's like their financial situation is just absurd, and I don't know if it's the whole Bartomeu Laporta trying to have some sort of political battle between the two, and basically whoever leaves puts the club in such a bad position that it's unattainable in their presidency. But it just makes no sense. Going back to what you mentioned about PSG's not being tested week in, week out, they've got the players now. I do think it is a mentality issue because you can say the same about teams like Inter, Juve, Milan in the past. Bayern Munich, prime example, where I think they only have one other team that regularly test them, although Leipzig are now actively challenging them. I don't think you can use the excuse of like, I know that a lot of people have been claiming that Ligue 1 is a farmers league, but you've got the quality now in terms of the players that you've brought in, especially the 5 signings that they've made so far. You can't use that as an excuse anymore, and if anything, it should prepare them even more, because the one thing that's missing from their trophy cabinet is the Champions League. So I don't know. It seems a bit of a soft excuse saying that they're not tested week in, week out, because the flip side is the likes of Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Man United, and all the other teams in the Premier League, they go in and face 19 tough teams. Every match is a winnable match or a losable match from the Premier League, and that's going to tire them out in terms of the season, which, even though that they're tested week in, week out, it gives them a disadvantage throughout the season. So there is pros and cons to both, but I just don't think there is any more excuses for PSG not to at least get to the final.
But if they don't win it, do you think Messi stays, or do you think he's come here one season, see what happens, and then move on?
I don't know. I've not really thought of that, to be honest. But it's a good point, to be fair, because
I thought Neymar was going to move as well after. I thought he was here for a season or two. What? This is his 4th season, is it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, the thing with Neymar is you're guaranteed 3 months where he's injured for the season, aren't you? I think it's. But
his sister's birthday time or something, isn't it? They say.
I don't. That's just an
Yeah.
odd situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Would you say that, Ib, that if they don't win it this season, could you see him rocking up in the Premier League or Serie A or something?
I think a player like of Messi's ability, he can play till he's 40 with that because what he's got, no other player in the world has got, right? Like with Ronaldo, you can see if he loses his pace or with age, he might not be as athletic and things like that, and that might affect his game. But with Messi, his dribbling ability, you can't ever see him lose that really, and that agility that he has. So I think even if he's 38, 39, he can still be doing what he's doing. Um, and you'd like to think that he wouldn't be still doing that at PSG. You'd like to think that after a season or two, he's going to think, well, I just need to be tested a bit more. Like I said, as a football fan, I'm disappointed with this move, man. I just can't understand why he would go there. I know, Max, you're not a fan of Neymar, but even when Neymar moved there, because I was a fan, or I am a fan of Neymar. Even when he moved there, I was thinking, what are you doing? Like now, Barca, he was with Suarez and Messi, he was killing it. I was thinking this guy is going to be the next big thing. Then moves to PSG and becomes like a nobody. Mbappe's situation is different because he's still making his name. He's still a kid, right? So he's still coming up the ranks, and you can do that at a team like or at a league like the French league. But with established players, why would you move there unless you're literally it's literally your last season? You're going there, get a season, get some money, retire. That makes sense. But you know Messi's not going to retire in the next 2, 3 years, or you'd like to think he's not going to. So yeah, for me, this doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Obviously, a lot's said in the sort of Messi and Ronaldo debate in terms of, okay, they've won leagues, they've won Ballon d'Ors, they've scored this many goals, but up until this summer, people have always said Ronaldo's done it internationally in terms of winning the Euros with Portugal. And a lot of Ronaldo fanboys would throw that in Messi believers' faces. And this year, obviously, Argentina won the Copa America. Now, that for me was saying, right, that's the end of that argument. But now this move sort of brings that into doubt for me a little bit. But what do you guys think of the achievement of Messi winning the Copa America? I mean, as football fans, surely we've all got to be pleased that he's got international honours to his name now.
You mean finally?
Finally, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Aston Villa goalie, of all people.
Well, I think Martinez really rose to the occasion, not just for Argentina, but for Villa last season, and he got his chance towards the end of the previous season with Arsenal, and I still don't understand why Arsenal just let him go like that. And he's come back and proven everyone wrong, especially in the red side of North London. Yeah, where do I start with Copa America? I don't know how much you guys watched of it. I watched a few of the highlights, and it seemed a really, really odd tournament because it was moved to Brazil. Obviously, in South America, COVID-19 situation, the numbers were spiking quite badly. So all the matches were played behind closed doors, and it just felt like a really weird environment. But then again, in terms of the final, the two obvious candidates, Brazil and Argentina, and I think it was a very scrappy end-to-end game, if I remember correctly. Either side could have won it, and I think Argentina edged it on the day, and I think Messi in general, I'm so happy that he finally got it, because this whole argument of Ronaldo's won an international tournament, I think the one thing that you can say now is that if Messi goes on, wins Ligue 1, he's basically won a league title in more than one country, so that argument goes out of the equation as well. And then if he wins the Champions League with PSG, and I'm always going to bring that up given what's happened this summer and how many players they've signed, especially the quality of players they've signed. If he manages to accomplish those two achievements, winning Champions League and Ligue 1, then there isn't really any other argument between Messi v Ronaldo. I think Messi's a quality player technically. I know Ronaldo is a beast in his own right, but I think they are two of the greatest players of all times. I don't understand why people keep on having to compare them, because they're different in their own rights. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
I think it's the whole comparison thing. I think it makes football what it is, to be honest. Like, I know, like your point about why people compare them, it does get repetitive, but you kind of want that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like in every sport, you have that. I think when there's a rivalry and there's two people at the top of their game, you're always gonna have who's better, Mayweather or Pacquiao, who's better, Ronaldo or Messi. Whatever sport you look at, there's always these two or three people at the top, and there's always going to be that comparison. Obviously, growing up with the whole Van Nistelrooy and Henry era, who's the better striker, is just always there, and I think it makes football what it is. For me, I just think, well, are we going down the route of who is better? So Max has said Messi, yeah.
Yeah, I would say Messi. Just, I'm not one of these that would trash Ronaldo. I think he's a phenomenon. But personally, from if I was to choose to watch a game, if there was two games on the telly, and one of them had Messi in and one of them had Ronaldo in, I mean, I'd probably pick to watch the Messi one because I think he does things with the ball that it's just ridiculous. But that's not to say Ronaldo doesn't. Just my personal flavour from what I enjoy when I watch football.
Now, in my opinion, even as a United fan, I would say Messi. But in the last however many years, what is it, 20 years now? Is it 20 years? They've been in the game, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 15. I guess Ronaldo's what, 36?
35, I think.
No, I think is he 35?
He's older than Messi, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure Ronaldo's older than 35. I'm just gonna check. But I think Messi naturally is better. But I think in the last, just say 15 years, then I think there's been seasons where Ronaldo has been better than Messi. So yeah, if that makes sense. So like, yeah, if you wanted to say who's better, Ronaldo or Messi, I would say Messi. But I wouldn't say over the last 15 years, Messi has always been better than Ronaldo. I would say there's been times where Ronaldo has been better than Messi, but just generally speaking, Messi's better.
What would you say here?
Well, I think we should appreciate both players for what they are.
Get
But
off the bench,
okay,
man.
okay, I'll get off the bench temporarily. But I still think that they're two quality players. They play in similar positions, yes, but I think their attributes are somewhat slightly different. And as I said, we have to learn to appreciate both players for who they are.
In conclusion, Van Dijk.
Oh, come on. So yeah, if I was to choose who I'd prefer to watch, just purely based on his technical ability alone, I would choose Lionel Messi because there are some things that he does that I can't even explain. And like even when, I know I don't want to bring Liverpool up all the time, but that match before we came back and won the Champions League, but the way that he tore the Liverpool team apart, it was frightening. And I thought that was us done. But yeah, like some of the things like his dribbling ability, even his set pieces, his ability to take on players, his understanding of the game, because he observes and watches everything, and then basically plays to what he sees on the pitch and decides to make decisions, especially on the attacking side of the pitch. And it's just like intriguing to watch. Yeah. The difference with Ronaldo, I feel, is that he's much more of a showboater, but he does seem to give a lift to everyone around him.
So I don't even think the showboating thing is Ronaldo still. I think Ronaldo at Man United, I genuinely think Ronaldo was at his best at United in terms of if you want to watch him entertaining the crowd, getting the numbers as well. He was at his best as the last two seasons at United. When he went to Madrid, I think he became maybe that first season where Raul was still there. Yeah, at that time, I think he was still playing on the left or on the right. He was quite entertaining to watch. But and then he became very, very like just goal minded. Like if you take goals out of Ronaldo, that's 80% of his game. Whereas Messi, there's so much to his game, I think. Goals are a part of it, but you wouldn't say Messi is all about goals. And that sounds crazy because this guy scores like what is it, 90 a season or something like that. In one season, he scored something ridiculous. But if you take goals away from Ronaldo's game, there's not much, like especially the Ronaldo of the last 6-7 years, there's not much left to his game apart from goals. And and that sounds crazy to say, but that is the reality. I can't remember who said it. But someone said Messi's a great player and Ronaldo's a great goal scorer, right? Yeah, and I think especially the Ronaldo, like I said, last 6, 7 years, he's just. I just think it's all about. He's basically a number 9. He's the furthest player forward. He's there to finish off the moves. He's there to head them.
Especially at Juve, isn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's also, if you think about it with the physicality, even though Ronaldo's in great shape, but if you think about the pace and the power that he had, especially at United and Real, it does seem that even though he's in very, very good shape physically, he has lost some of that, and he has had to adapt his game to not just his age, but also his teammates around him, because Juve play a completely different way of football to Real. Whereas with Messi, I don't think he's changed his game that much. He's pretty much the same player that came onto the scene all those years ago at Barcelona. His ability to pass, his ability to dribble, his ability to score, his creativity, it's still, most of it is still there, if not all of it. And
On that note, what you
yeah.
said about age, do you think Zlatan gets overlooked too much in terms of when you talk about great players? Do you think at his age, what is he, 40 now or 39?
Yeah, 100%. But I
Do you
think
people don't mention him enough?
they don't mention him enough. But if you think about his stats, his goal scoring ability, he's still one of the greatest players that we've ever seen in our
I
lifetimes.
completely agree.
But the thing is, it's his ego and his
Yeah.
reputation that basically, his reputation and what he says in the media and his whole third person Zlatan image that he portrays kind of goes against him, because I think most of the public, in terms of football fans, kind of see that as like, really.
I think with Zlatan is just sheer arrogance. A lot of it justified, but people don't like that, do they? Football's still a working class sport, and people don't want to hear about how amazing somebody thinks that they are. So yeah, I think that's definitely valid. I think that goes against him in terms of his ego. But like you said, I do think he's overlooked. Wherever he's gone, he's scored goals. I mean, what an impact he had at United at 35, 36. And the thing with Ibra, and it's sort of similar to what you've been saying about Messi, Hugh, is all of his sort of all of the strengths within his game. They're not something that age really affects. He's never been pacey. He's never needed that extra burst to beat a man. And probably if you analysed him over his whole career, you would see that he's sort of reinvented himself a couple of times in terms of the way he fits into the team. But you'll like this here. You were talking about Ronaldo at United. People talk about Messi, Suarez, and Neymar when they were together at Barcelona. But for me, that doesn't get close to Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney. I thought they were unbelievable together. I just love when I'm watching telly at night when the old clips come on of like Premier League years, and I think we might have lost it. But
yeah, he's just completely frozen. Okay, let me see if I can. We've lost him. Yep. Let's just message him quickly and see if we can get him back. So all of you, all of that moment when you were glorifying the United partnership.
I'm not doing it again.
Well, Lamb did say that Zlatan is one of the last great characters in football, in his opinion, a true entertainer.
I think if Lamb wants to give his opinions, he should be on the podcast.
Okay, so Ibby said he's going to be troubleshooting his connection. But yeah, I think there's a lot of players like that, though. I think Zlatan does like playing the pantomime villain, especially in Milan derbies, or even like the PSG derbies against Marseille, like the whole Joey Barton versus Ibra, which like I don't even understand the comparison. but like even last season with Lukaku and Ibra, and then like his overall attitude in terms of like, I don't know if you remember when he joined LA Galaxy a few seasons ago, he basically bought out an entire page of the LA Times.
Yeah.
And basically just wrote, "Dear LA, you're welcome," or something like that, and left
Yeah.
the rest of the page blank. Like it works in LA because it's basically Hollywood, right? And I think especially if you're looking at football, or as they call it, soccer in I'm not going to say that word again ever, but if you're looking at it as an entertainment sport, people probably love that. But in terms of football fans, especially in Europe, they're gonna be like, "Who is this guy? Who does he think he is?" This level of arrogance, like, uh, I don't like to see it. But yeah, it doesn't take away anything that he's achieved in the footballing world. You can say the same about Suarez and his whole scandals and spiting and everything. I still think Suarez is an amazing player, but his reputation goes against him.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Right. Anyways, should we move on to talk about the Premier League as Ib is troubleshooting his.
Hopefully we'll be back after we've both given our sort of thoughts. The one thing I wanted to sort of ask everyone was, out of all the new players coming into the Premier League this season, who are you most looking forward to seeing in action? And you can't mention a player that's signed for your own club. So no.
Konate. Oh, damn it! I can't even say Konate. I mean, we're very, very limited on signings in the transfer market anyway. So obviously Jadon Sancho is going to be the first one and the most obvious one. It'd be exciting to see if he can keep up and basically provide the same level of assists as he did in the Bundesliga last season. I'm going to go with another Bundesliga player anyway, other than Sancho, and that's Leon Bailey. Because I know Grealish has probably left a massive void in Aston Villa to fill. The signings like Buendia and Bailey, but I think the surprise one for me was Leon Bailey leaving Leverkusen for someone like Villa, who they did have a good season last season, but they're not like one of the outstanding like top 6 performers. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do and what he can do, and what he can bring to the Premier League as well, because he's a tricky player. He's very, very fast from what I remember seeing when he played for Leverkusen, and I wonder how he would fare in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I'm interested to see how he does. Obviously, Sancho's an interesting one, as in from an English perspective, wanting to do very well. Leon Bailey, an interesting one, but I'm interested to see how Grealish gets on in that Man City squad, because he's going from being a big fish in a small pond. No offense to Aston Villa, they're obviously a big club, and I'll talk more about Villa in a minute, hopefully, if I remember. But it will be interesting to see how Grealish copes with the expectation, how he copes with not being the main man all of the time, and sort of being one of many very talented players. Personally, I think he's got the sort of personality where he backs himself. So I think he'll be okay, and I think he'll do well at Man City. But it wouldn't surprise me where he's sort of been at one club his whole career, whether there's a bit of sort of not teething problems, but maybe it might take him a bit of time to get going. I mean, the early signs when he come on in the Community Shield, they were pretty promising. But yeah, I just hope that the media and City fans are quite patient and know that no matter how long it takes, they've got a quality player there. And also another one of his replacements at Villa, Buendia, I really, really rate him. Obviously, I support Bristol City, so I've seen a bit of him in the Championship last season, and then the season before when they come up, the most recent time before this time, he was unbelievable. And I mean, Norwich had a Premier League player playing for him all season last year in the Championship, and that was Buendia. He's an unbelievable player, and I hope he can get a good season in at Villa. And the next question I was going to ask you, Hugh, and I'm going to answer it first, was which team has impressed you most for their business? And my team that I think has been the most impressive is Aston Villa, because they've obviously got a big, massive Jack Grealish hole to fill, but they've been proactive with it. They had the contract clause in there that if a team met the 100 million, then he could leave for a Champions League team, and they've planned for that. They've known that this bid's probably going to come in this summer, so they've got their house in order before the inevitables happened, and I hope that they click quickly. But yeah, I think Villa have done some really good business. Everyone they've brought in is quality.
Yeah, if I'm honest with you, I agree. Aston Villa have been the one team that has surprised me the most in the transfer market, and I think it goes back to even last season when they signed Ollie Watkins. Like they've gone back to the Championship, and Buendia had an amazing season last season, and I think he's going to be one of those standout players who is going to impress. Like I think a lot of people who don't follow lower league football would have not have heard of him, and now that he's in the Premier League, albeit with a different team, uh, I think he's got the platform to shine. And yeah, I think the other team that surprised me a little bit, but in the complete opposite way, is Crystal Palace. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that I've seen your Twitch streams when you were Crystal Palace on Football Manager, but the amount of players they released, if I remember, it's 9 or 10 first team players, and now they're having to go through this rebuild phase. It may not be a positive or pleasant surprise compared to what Aston Villa have done, but it'll be intriguing to see what they do now, because if I remember correctly, they've only signed 2 or 3 first team players, like Joachim Anderson from Lyon, who was at Fulham last season, and also Mark Gay, who was at Swansea last season, who I thought performed quite well in the Championship. But it'd be interesting to see what they do now, because it looks like Zaha FC last season.
I think with Palace, I think it's there's literally 2 outcomes, and it's either they're going to be absolutely terrible, Vieira's going to be out of a job by Christmas, and then they might get a steady hand in to keep him up, or they'll do really well. But it just reminds me a bit of when they got De Boer in charge and they wanted to change everything, and it just didn't work. I hope not, because I quite like Palace, but yeah, and I want Vieira to do well. Definitely want Vieira to do well because he's a quality player, and we hear a lot about black managers and not having the representation, and obviously Vieira's one of the ones flying the flag, and for all the other sort of vying black managers trying to get into the game, I hope he does well to break down the barriers, and hopefully we'll see more sort of minorities and different ethnicities represented in the top leagues.
Yeah. Just one thing before I go to my next comment or point. It looks like Chelsea have done a substitution for penalties. They've just taken off Mendy and put on Kepa. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes.
Oh wow.
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on the Super Cup results and how the penalties go, and we'll catch up with that in the next episode. But just to wrap up on the Premier League, there's a few more points that I wanted to go through. So similarly to your question, the question that I wanted to ask is, which signing has surprised you the most, or which signing, given the recent news coming in with the likes of Lukaku close to joining Chelsea again, like what signing has been the one that has surprised you the most?
I'll tell you what one hasn't surprised me, and that's Jadon Sancho, because I think Man United have been trying to sign him for about 15 years now, and I'm so glad he's joined so I can stop hearing about him.
Yeah, but now we can start hearing about Haaland to wherever, or Harry Kane.
Oh, I don't. But
the second saga.
Yeah. Right, I got 2. One of them, it was not because I don't think he's a quality player, but the money involved. I think the Varane deal,
Yeah.
Man United, I think that could turn out to be great value. I honestly do. And probably Lukaku's sort of Leon Bailey. If he can carry the form over or Leon Bailey or whatever it is, if he can carry his form from the Bundesliga that he has shown over the past few seasons into the Premier League, I think that's a fantastic bit of business for Villa.
You know what? The signing that surprised me the most this transfer window is going to be another Aston Villa sign, Danny Ings.
Mm.
I really did not see that one coming at all. And they already have the likes of Ollie Watkins. They've signed Buendia. They've got Leon Bailey, but I thought he was doing an all right job at Southampton. Given that he's from the South Coast anyway, I didn't see him consider leaving Southampton unless it was for like a club that would be challenging the top four, top six. Um, but it goes back to your point about Aston Villa and their dealings in the transfer window. It's been remarkable, and I hope everything clicks for them.
Yeah, and sort of going back to Villa's transfer business, I don't know whether you've seen the statement from their CEO where he sort of explained the sort of Grealish contract clause and the way they've gone about their business. And the thing that he said that was the most sort of impressive from my point of view was that with the business they've done this season, knowing that they're losing Jack, they've wanted to obviously replace the reliance on one absolute superstar onto spreading that through the team with more quality. And I think for a team like Villa, that's the way to go, because there'd be times when Grealish would be out for 3 or 4 games and they wouldn't be the same team. So I think, yeah, that I'm just so impressed with Villa, really impressed, and I hope it goes well.
Yeah, let's just
But
hope.
we've spoke now about sort of who's going to impress us, who
Yeah,
we're seeing, who's bought well, etc. The nitty gritty of it, Hugh, is
yeah.
who's going to finish in those top 4 places.
Okay. Are we really doing this? Because I was hoping that Ib and Lam would be here, but we can throw the question to them in the next
Right,
episode.
we no, I've got their responses here, Hugh.
Oh, you put me on the spot.
I'm putting you on the spot, mate.
Okay.
You want some thinking time, and I'll go through Ibby and Lambs.
Yeah. Just one thing before I start gathering my thoughts. But the one thing that I want to end after your last comments there is that let's just hope Aston Villa do click and press on with their signings. And the last time we've seen a team do this was Gareth Bale leaving for Real, and Tottenham completely wasting the money. And yeah, let's not talk about that. Anyways, go ahead, enlighten me.
Ibby has said, on the proviso that Manchester City do sign Kane, he's gone City top, Chelsea second, United third, and Liverpool fourth.
The disrespect there.
If Kane doesn't join City, then switching Chelsea and City round with the impact of Lukaku. Now, Lamb, I was half expecting some like Newport County to be in his top 4, but he's gone City first, United third, Chelsea, City first, United second, Chelsea third, and Liverpool fourth. And in his own words, he was tempted to say Liverpool won't make top 4.
Well, yeah, I see how this is going. All right, okay, is it over to me now?
Yeah.
Well, this is where I'm gonna surprise a lot of people, and you're gonna be like, you're mad. What are you talking about? I honestly fancy Liverpool's chances this season, and the reason why I say that is we haven't made that many signings, but Van Dijk coming back and Joe Gomez coming back and having a fully fit squad, albeit with Robertson's injury for the last from the last few days. I still think we've got a good chance, and let's be honest, we've been craving for Premier League titles for God knows how long, like even before I was born, and we've only just managed to get our first one 2 seasons ago. So I think we're going to put most of our eggs in one basket with a view of the Champions League and some of the other tournaments on the side. So I'm going to go Liverpool to win the league, but you probably would have gathered that anyway. It may be slightly biased, but whatever. Second, I'm going to put Man United, and I think the signings that they make will basically put them a step up in terms of having Varane and Maguire at the back, and also having Sancho in the team. And it's really up to Ole now to really show that he can actually make use of those signings and perform and do well. And I think, as well as finishing second, they probably will win something else as well along the way. Third, I'm going to go with City. And I think, similarly to what I mentioned about Liverpool craving for league titles, the one tournament they're going to probably focus on is Champions League. And I think, having been so close to it last season, they're going to be even hungrier for it. So I think they might even go as far as sacrificing league positions just to win the Champions League. And I do feel like it's going to be a City PSG final in that tournament. And then fourth, I've got Chelsea. Even with Lukaku, I still have a question mark on why spend all that money on a player that you got rid of several seasons ago, and then you're basically paying more just to get them back. And
4 times more.
sorry,
4 times more, pretty
yeah,
much.
more or less.
Yeah, I mean, not to be boring, but I think I'm going with the same 4 teams as everyone else. I think City first. I think Liverpool second, Chelsea third, United fourth. However, I think it's going to be the tightest top 4 ever. I think there could be like 7, 9 points
Yeah,
separated first to fourth. I think all the top teams are going to take points off each other this season. I think it'd be so unlikely, even if Kane went to City, I can just see everyone beating everyone in that top 4 and being very, very tight.
and let's not discount what I was going to say. Let's not discount Spurs and Arsenal out of this as well. Because if you think,
I think you can discount both of them.
oh come on, as I said earlier on about the Premier League, anything is possible. You go in every game, like irrespective of which of the other 19 teams you play, you can either win it or lose it. Everything's to play for, and we may question about Harry Kane remaining at Spurs, but I still think they're going to be a bit of a surprise even now. Even if they keep Kane or not, it doesn't really matter. I still think with Nuno coming in is going to offer a fresh perspective, and then I think especially Arsenal and what you mentioned about Varane, it's surprising that Varane and Sergio Ramos are cheaper than Ben White, but it's the defensive stability that Arsenal need, and I think that even like if they get 1 or 2 more signings, they could still be somewhat here or there. They might not be top 4 material, but they are going to be a tough opponent for them all to basically try and beat.
Yeah, I just don't rate their chances. I personally quite a strong opinion. I think Arteta's a fraud.
Wow.
I
Okay.
I just honestly I just if he was a British manager last season, they'd have been gone because it's Mikel Arteta and he's worked under Pep and he played in the Premier League for however long for Everton and for Arsenal. I don't know. I just can't see it. I've not seen anything from Arsenal to suggest that they're going to challenge. And Spurs, do you know what? The most surprising thing this summer was Son signing a new contract. I don't know why he'd do that, to be honest, because he is a top player that deserves to be winning trophies. So I might be wrong, probably will be wrong. I just can't see those 2 teams getting near top 4.
Okay, and there's one team that we've completely missed off the radar: Leicester
Watford?
City.
Oh.
Oh come on, not Leicester City. Come on.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Leicester, I mean, one thing I will say, Patson Daka, who they've signed, I think he's going to absolutely. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I think they have done so well. They've replaced Vardy while Vardy's still going because he is the exact same sort of striker, that lightning pace and the clinical finishing. And if he can, like Bailey, whatever his name is, Leon Bailey, if he can transfer his form from the Austrian league over to the Premier League, and Leicester have got a hell of a strike on their hands.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Patson Daka came from, was it Salzburg, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think from clips on YouTube, he seems quite a pacey player. So you're right, he is Vardy's effective replacement.
Yeah.
The one slight concern that I have is Wesley Fofana's injury during pre-season. So I don't.
Really unfortunate.
yeah, they need to go in and get a defender by the looks of things. But it all really sets up for an interesting season.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait. And I mean, I went to a game last week. I went to the City game where if you discount the last 30 seconds of the game, we actually beat Blackpool 1-0 to start the season. But yeah, that's if you just ignore the last 30 seconds of the game. So it was so good being back there with the fans. And I mean, their goalie had a couple of dodgy kicks and just giving the goalie stick every time the ball went near, and it was great. I can't wait to watch Match of the Day, live games with fans.
Yeah.
It's a different animal.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a few games to go to in the coming weeks, so yeah, I'll definitely put it on Instagram.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
So I'll be going to a few of the games at Anfield, and yeah, I might be going to a few of the other Premier League games in London as
That'd
well.
be nice for you to go to Anfield for the first time, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, very funny, very funny.
You probably got box there or something.
Yeah, oh, very funny again. Yeah, obviously like hospitality package every day, yeah, isn't it? No,
Yeah, just stick it on the card, mate.
yeah, was it Amex? Yeah,
yeah.
This is not a promotion. Yeah, exactly. If it was sponsored by Amex, I'll be at Brighton's every home game, wouldn't I? But yeah,
If you're listening to Amex, we are open for sponsorship. But no, I think that's a good little pod to get back into the swing of things. Hopefully Monday, Tuesday with a guest, a former Football League scout who's now in the women's game. Sort of get his perspective on some things. Unfortunate that we've had technical issues and Ibby had to leave us early. And Lamb's obviously on an extended vacation, so he's been unable to attend. But Hugh, do you wanna wrap us up?
yeah, I think Chelsea have just won on penalties, but more on that in the next episode anyway. But yeah, it's been a while since our last episode. So ever since football went to Rome, it didn't actually come home. Unfortunately, there's been a lot more crazy things happening, especially in the transfer window. And yeah, as the title shows, it was a really messy situation, and it still could be a really messy situation in the 10 months to come. But other than that, yeah, let's close out. So once again, if you haven't followed our socials already, then be sure to do so. So there's a subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you press that. And then we are also available on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Internet Podcast or facebook.com/Internet Podcast. Other than that, we are also available on Spotify and SoundCloud as well, using the same username, Internet Podcast. And yeah, once again, as we are still a relatively new podcast, we appreciate all the following, whether you do it live or via the recordings. We do appreciate every single one of the listens, the clicks, the subscriptions, etc. But yeah, other than that, as Max said, we'll have a guest hopefully for next week's episode, and then yeah, hopefully Ibby and Lamb will be back. Other than that, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Yeah, take care, and we will look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you, guys.